Welcome to the Loveland All Sports Podcast, where the land of love can get updates on not only Loveland sports, but learn and discuss many sports topics. Shoot any ideas you want to lovelandallsports@gmail.com and follow us on Facebook at the Loveland All Sports Pod. Loveland All Sports Pod is sponsored by Meredith DeWitt of Brittany Fritz Realty, Loveland's #1 boutique brokerage. Contact Meredith for any and all of your real estate needs at meredithbfteam@gmail.com. This episode is another hometown hero with Loveland grad football and baseball player turned varsity coach, Coach Ryne Terry. His success is building where he has been third, second, and first in the ECC in the past 3 years. He is building the team the right way, and the results speak for themselves. You will hear he does not let his youth get in the way, and he speaks from the heart from all the lessons that he learned from everyone in his network that taught him all these years. This team is senior-led, and they have a great opportunity to have another great season. And with the new OSHA rules, there's a chance to go after another district title, and then we'll see what happens after that. So please enjoy this episode. All right, well, welcome. I'm got a great opportunity here this afternoon, sitting here with Loveland High School baseball coach, Coach Ryne Terry. We got Reds opening day in 7 days, and the Tigers opening day coming up in 9 days. So I figured it'd be a great time to sit here and talk with Coach Terry. Welcome.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Josh.
Awesome. Thanks for joining, man. So I've gotten to know a little bit about Coach Terry over the years, and we wanted to get the community the opportunity to do so as well. And I think one of the most special things about you is you're from Loveland and went to Loveland. Tell us a little bit about home and growing up here and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. Born and raised in Loveland, both my brother and I. I graduated from here in 2013, and both my parents actually were Loveland graduates as well, class 85, class 86. So know a lot of people in town, can't go out, and now I'm slowly turning into my parents, where we used to always make fun of them because it felt like every time we went outside and saw somebody, they'd be like, we went to school with them, or they were our neighbor. And now it kind of feels like I take my fiance out who's not from here, and all of a sudden, I'm talking to every single person, and she's like, how do you know that person? And, I went to school with them, or they went to school with my brother. So it's cool to be involved in the place that you grew up and spent so much time in, and being able to build off those relationships. And, a lot of our guys on our team have the same teachers that I had when I was in high school. So, it's kind of cool to see how, those relationships blossom and can grow, and, how I can continue to help that, all that stuff. So it's been a lot of fun.
Did you always have aspirations to coach high school baseball at
actually,
alma mater?
Yeah, that was not. Goals at leaving high school, heading to college, was to work in the front office for a professional football or baseball team, and eventually work my way up into running a program or an organization myself, and being a general manager. Once I got out to the real world and realized that, the degree I chose and the analytics of baseball that was being introduced, you needed an Ivy League stats degree to kind of pursue that. So I kind of had to take a step back while I was in school, and reassess what I wanted to do. I started getting more involved with the game on the administrative side, and on the coaching side, and on the private instruction side. And just seeing the development in kids was something that was really cool, and it kind of got me interested in coaching. And then Steve Plitt took the job here in 2019, and he was my youth coach for about 6-7 years. So we had a pretty good rapport, and I knew things, the way he wanted things done, and how he expected the game of baseball to look. And he asked me to be his JV coach, and I was finishing up college and kind of looking for something to do, looking for that first full-time job, and gave it a shot, and have loved it ever since. Nice. So it's been awesome.
So growing up here, what else did you play besides baseball? Yeah,
so whole life was I was a baseball, basketball, football guy. So I was busy throughout. Everybody plays a little bit of soccer when they're younger.
Yeah,
it's chasing the ball around. But as I grew up, all through first through high school, was playing all three of those. Got to high school, played baseball, started football, and then played JV basketball as a freshman, and then varsity baseball as a freshman, and then kind of had a reevaluation with my parents and some of my coaches, and decided that we were going to cut basketball out of there so that I had time to recoup after the long football season, and kind of get ready to go and get up to speed with baseball, getting experience as a young guy. I felt like I was missing out a little bit for my freshman year, so kind of getting a jump start during the winter time and really allowed me to continue to develop as a player. And then, playing 3 years as the varsity quarterback on the football team, gave me a lot of leadership, and that was a lot of struggles early on as a youngster out there, playing with the big boys. That really helped me when I translated over the diamond,
nice.
and gave me the confidence that I needed to step in there and see a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, because it was no different than getting chased down by a big old defensive end trying to tackle me. So,
right.
Just having those two really complemented one another, kind of let my body work in different ways throughout the year, so I wasn't continuously putting too much stress on one part of my body. Obviously being a quarterback and playing football and playing baseball on top of that can be a little difficult on the arm. So trying to balance that, but I really enjoyed playing all those sports growing up, and wish I could have played all three. I look back at that and miss being out there on the court with the guys, but overall I think it was what worked out best for me.
Nice. And then you were able to take that and play a little bit in college.
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to get a scholarship offer from Indiana Tech, which is an NAIA school up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And got great experience up there, playing 2 years of ball, traveling all over the place, seeing different parts of the country, and kind of just getting a different baseball experience from outside of the high school realm. And it was awesome, and wouldn't change it for anything. Unfortunately, suffered a pretty gnarly injury to my elbow that kind of cut my playing days short. I had the opportunity to get surgery and go through about a year and a half of rehab, but I was kind of looking at the horizon and realizing that pro ball probably wasn't going to happen for me. I had kind of reached my max potential playing days, so I decided to hang up the spikes, come back home, finish up at UC, get a degree in sport administration. Start learning a little bit more on the other side, in terms of how to take care of all the paperwork, all the final forms, all that good stuff, so that I would be better prepared for where I am now.
Awesome. And then where are you? You're not just full time. You got a lot of people know about your
absolutely. So full time
family business.
Yeah, full time job is at RP Diamond Printing and Embroidery. It's been in business since 2008. I remember when my parents started it when I was 8th grade, heading into high school, out of our basement. So it's been a part of my life for the last almost 20 years now. So and now I'm back there full time, helping that business grow, helping get people outfitted in our community, whether that be for their travel teams, their sports teams, their small businesses, what have you. It's been really cool to help my family grow that business and kind of see your work put out there in the community every day.
Nice. And then most importantly, congratulations are in order. You got a bride to be?
Yes. Yeah. June 20th is the big date for that. So, she's definitely counting down the days, doing a lot of DIYing at home, getting everything situated for that while I'm coaching. She's been great with all that stuff. So, every time I blink, I feel like we're 1 month closer to the actual date. So we're both super excited. It's something that we've been looking forward to for the last couple of years now, and it's nice to finally have a date and all those fine details and everything. But we're both super excited to get after it.
And then you had to look at the calendar and plan when this was going to be.
Yes, absolutely.
Wasn't going to be in the spring.
Heading into, we got engaged in August, so that was the first conversation that we had. Spring's coming up and we're going to be busy, and I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't look to see what that state championship date was, which is Sunday, June 15th. So we chose 5 days after the state championship, just in case we found ourselves up in Akron in June. So she's super happy. Still get a little bit of that springtime wedding before it gets too hot out there, but it's going to be awesome.
That's great. So what's your favorite part of coaching baseball?
My favorite part of coaching baseball is getting these guys at 14, 15 years old as freshmen and watching them grow into young men, and then seeing them 2-3 years after they've gone, they're off in college or they're starting their job, and they come back up to the field to watch the guys play, and they still have that same passion, that same energy, that same care that they had when they were 15 here. That's my favorite part is talking to the alumni, just getting feedback from them and hearing their life stories, where they're at with everything, things they miss about baseball, life lessons that they learned just from playing the game, and just, not all these guys are going to go off and play, college baseball or professional baseball. We're lucky if we get 1 or 2 guys every 10 years that come through these doors. So just being able to have an impact in life in general on these guys and teaching them those good life lessons and how to overcome adversity and working in groups of people that, might not all be your best friends, and, how to struggle and how to, fail and still be able to get up there and go up and try your best again, and believing that you're going to have success, your best pitch, your next at bat's your best at bat, your next pitch, your best pitch. So just watching the development of these guys and watching them grow into young men and sending them out there into the real world to get everything done. It's been really, really cool.
Well, whatever extracurricular event or sport or booster or music booster, whatever I'm trying to say, whatever extracurricular program kids get onto, it's so cool to see how it helps them develop as a human being.
Yeah,
not just
absolutely. And it's a lot of them don't have that perspective now, and that's why I enjoy talking to these college guys so much, because they come back and they're like, man, if I would have just listened to what you or Coach Williams or whatever was just saying that one day, like it would have. I was just being such a knucklehead that day. Like, I can't believe I was like that. I'm sorry. Like, they always just come back and say sorry. And it's like, don't be sorry. I'm just happy that you guys are able to learn and, go on and don't make the same mistakes twice.
Right.
So it's been really cool.
That's great. Do you follow, well, you mentioned you did a little bit of work with the Reds.
Yep.
Coming out of college.
Absolutely.
When you go to a pro game or a college game, do you find yourself being able to be a fan?
Yeah.
Or are you like taking notes the whole time?
So I think it's pretty separate. Like I feel like I can be a fan when I watch a pro game. I feel like the game in terms of, they have a lot of different rules, the size of the bases, things are I like to say MLB's 2-3 steps ahead of everybody else. So when I go to those games, I'm there watching as a Cincinnati Reds fan. I really enjoy going down to the ballpark. I like watching them play NL Central games. That's when I try to go down and watch when they're playing the Cardinals, when they're playing the Cubs.
Yeah.
Those good heated rivalries. It's fun to just kind of be able to relax in that environment. But now watching college baseball is a whole nother story. So, college typically plays on Tuesdays, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I'll go home on Tuesdays after practice and find a good midweek game, and I'll turn it on, and I am, up in arms about why are we doing that? Why is that guy charging on not bunt coverage and not the first baseman? Like, why would that coach do that? And a lot of times I'm sitting there and I'm trying to play devil's advocate to, see what other teams are doing. Maybe I can pull an idea from a college coach or something else, and we can implement it to what we do at the high school level. And I challenge our guys a lot to go out and watch college baseball. It's the closest comparison to high school sports in terms of roster sizes, in terms of, passion, the pageantry around the game, the speed at which it's played, everything is very, very similar. So I really enjoy watching college baseball to learn. And sometimes get a little frustrated if I see knucklehead plays. But I'm able to still have that fan experience when I'm watching a big league game. So that's nice where, it hasn't completely been just through my coach's goggles at all times. I still got that little bit of a fan perspective, which is good to hold on to.
That's cool. And then do you find yourself, I know baseball is the one sport, football, you can go out and throw a ball being a quarterback. I'm an offensive lineman. I can't really find anybody that wants to go at it. Do you find yourself not just throwing, but do you ever get in the cage, or you show the kids how to do it on the field?
So I mean, as each year's gone on, I've gotten a little rustier. I turned 30 this past year. So.
Call me when you're 53.
Exactly. I hear that a lot, but no, there's a couple times a year where I'll get in there with the infielders and mix it up with them. I tried once or twice a year, once it warms up a little bit, to get up on the mound and throw full go to these guys. And then each year we play the alumni game. And that's awesome because we get guys that were former big leaguers from, back in the 70s or 80s that come and hang out. We got guys, all the way through that were graduated last year. So, that's really fun, to get out there and strap up the spikes one more time and, have somewhat of to get the competitive juices flowing a little bit. So that's probably the extent of what I'm getting out there and doing it still. We got our pitching coach, Roy Wimmers, who's, He's in his 70s, and he was up there up in the field yesterday taking swings off our pitching machine and stuff. So the boys really enjoy that, to see the coaches still be able to get there and show we still got something. We know what we're talking about a little bit.
Yeah, well, you'll never lose it.
Exactly.
I only played a couple years of softball back in my 30s or something, maybe even low 40s. But even last summer, man, for my son's team he was on, I would get in there and hit. And there's not a better feeling in the world than jacking one. Yeah, especially when 15-years-olds don't think you can do it.
Yeah, squaring up a baseball, because everybody says it's one of the hardest things to do in sports. Right. I'm still not convinced hitting a golf ball off a tee is not the hardest thing to do. I struggle with that sometimes. Exactly.
I mean, I love golf, but the ball's not moving.
Yeah. But no, there's, like you said, there's no better feeling than squaring one up and watching it fly out there on the field. It's really cool.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, now you're entering what I call Josh's smoking seat. So I'm going to fire off 10 questions.
Awesome.
And just whatever you're feeling. Skyline or Gold Star?
Skyline.
LeBron or Jordan?
LeBron.
You had to think about that.
Yeah, that's tough, because I'm a 90s kid, so I was lucky enough to catch Jordan towards the end of his career.
Right.
And obviously we have access to the internet. I've seen a lot. I give LeBron the edge due to the world that he grew up in. He's been the poster child of basketball since he was 16 years old, and he's now 40 and has never not been the face of the league. Right. So for him to be able to have that longevity of it all, and it's just been impressive to me. Never being injured, never missing significant time, carrying a lot of really, really bad teams to the finals early in his career. I give the slight edge to him just for his longevity and just because of the expectations that were put on him at such a young age. He's never been a part of a scandal. He's never had anything, really negatively out there about him. I know everybody's not the biggest fan of LeBron. Sometimes he can be a little whiny. But just in terms of just pure basketball, I mean, it's hard to argue.
He's the best basketball player on the planet ever, but he's not the GOAT. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I totally get it. I might be a little bit different if I was an 80s kid and I got to see more of Jordan in his prime, but I'm right there on that edge. I just get
you're on the edge.
Yeah.
Did you stay on the Bengals bus for 31 years and no playoff wins? I mean,
I hooday till we die. That's how we roll for the Stripes. It's been fun. I've been there for the John Kitna. I remember getting my first Bengals jersey with Dubell-Smith.
Oh wow!
So I've seen it all. So.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
Should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame?
No.
What's your first concert?
Ooh, my first concert. That would have been at Riverbend, and I want to say that was a Toby Keith concert, R.I.P.
That's a good one.
Yes.
Okay. When you're making cereal, do you put the milk in the bowl first or the cereal first?
Cereal first.
Okay, that's wrong. When you make peanut butter and jelly, do you put peanut butter on one piece of bread or both?
Both.
And then if money's no object, what sporting event would you like to attend?
The Monaco Grand Prix for Formula One racing.
Nice. That's a good one. Awesome. Well, just another fun way for the community to get to know you.
Awesome.
So let's talk a little more baseball. Okay. Let the community get to know you a little bit now. So what's the most memorable game that you've coached?
Most memorable game I've coached, I would probably have to say winning the ECC title outright last year as a team. That was a huge goal that we set for ourselves. It has been something that was a huge goal of mine when I first took over this program, and it's something that we had built to. It wasn't something that we went out in our first year and expected to achieve. Right. We knew that we were going to have to battle. We knew we were going to have to overcome a lot of adversity. We were going to have to, a lot of ups and downs. And our senior class each year for 22, 23, really helped pave the way for that. Gave our younger guys the confidence that they needed, that they could go out there and compete on the field. So seeing that come to fruition last year, having that be at the end of our season against the crosstown rivals in Milford, and having a lot of our alumni that were on those 23, 22 classes there, it was really special, not just for the guys that were on the field that day, but for those guys to know that they were a part of it. So that was definitely probably the coolest experience that we've had, dog piling, throwing water coolers on guys.
Right.
And, getting all the guys to sign the game ball after was really special.
That's awesome. So back in your playing days.
Yes.
If you had a play or a game you could do over.
Yep. Yeah, 1,000%. So we're going to flash back all the way to 2009. It was my freshman year. We're playing a sectional final game at Mason High School against LaSalle. This was before Mason had the nice new turf. We're back in the old school dirt and grass days. And we're handling LaSalle. We got one of our assistant coaches on our staff who was a senior at the time, Jordan Hawk, was on the mound. Filling it up, throwing low 90s, having a great game. I think we were, it was a 3-1 game, something like that, very close, 6th inning. Routine, tailor-made double ball play, hit to me at shortstop, hits a sprinkler head, pops up, hits me in the eye. I go down, lose consciousness, wake up, the game's tied 3-2.
No.
I got to go get my face x-rayed after the game. Turns out we ended up losing on that. So just knowing how talented that team was, some of the seniors that were on that team, including guys like Adam Engel, who played the big leagues, going back and looking back on that play, obviously was a little bit out of my control, but it's something that, I still think about, Coach Hawk and I talk about to this day, something I bring up a lot with the guys, especially once we get to playoff time. But yeah, that's definitely one play that sticks out in my head. If I could go back and do it over again, maybe, charge it a little bit more and not let it get to that point, and who knows what could have happened.
That's great. What about your favorite sports movie?
You got to put Major League up there, just in terms of baseball and comedy. I love a good comedy movie. I'm not a guy who likes to take himself too serious all the time. I like to sit back and enjoy myself. So, I put Major League up there. I also am a really, big fan of Bad News Bears. The Billy Bob Thornton one.
The old original.
So that one is another good baseball comedy one. And then if I had to, obviously we're going to pay some homage to probably the greatest baseball movie of all time, and that's The Sandlot. And so, I would probably have to put The Sandlot up there as all-time best
Good answers. Good answers. All right, so since you had I'm going to ask this one twice. So, as a player, who's the best athlete you've ever played with or against?
I could give you two. I'll give you one I played with and one I played against. Played with was a very short amount of time, but he's a guy that taught me more than probably anybody else, and that was Adam Engel. I was lucky enough to be a freshman when he was a senior, and he sustained an injury during that football season, which allowed him to not be able to throw the ball during baseball season. Just so happened that we played the same position, and I was the next man on the totem pole. So every day at practice, just being out there with him, teaching me how to play the game, how to do things correctly, just in terms of how you run on the field, how you stretch before things start, the do's and don'ts, all that stuff was from him.
Awesome.
And just, I tell people this all the time. If you ever got 5 minutes in your board, just type in Adam Engel, football highlights, and just hit play and enjoy. It's one of the most special things I've ever seen. And for as good as that is, he was that much better on the baseball field.
Right.
He obviously played about 10 years professionally at the big league level. He played 6-7 years before that minor league baseball, and it's very special athlete. So definitely him I played against would have been Cameron Varga. He was a 2014 grad from CHCA. He was 97 and 99 off the mound in high school, and I remember them coming over here on our senior night. And typically non-conference games you don't throw your number one pitchers. But their coach decided that they wanted to throw their number one pitcher against us, and given him his only loss in his high school career, and given his only run scored his junior year, given up was against us, and just so happened I got a hit and I scored a run, was a pretty cool feeling.
Great.
That guy got drafted right out of high school, and his pro career didn't kind of work out the way that he wanted to, but in terms of just pure stuff in high school, hands down, one of the best I've ever seen.
And what about coaching? Who's the best athlete recently that you've coached against?
Yeah, coached against. Lebanon had this guy a couple years ago, Colton Hartman. He's down at Louisville right now. He was 6'4", 6'5", left-handed pitcher on the mound, throwing mid to upper 90s. He's playing with another guy at Louisville right now, Lucas Moore, who was a shortstop at Baden, who was just a phenomenal athlete and one of those guys when you show up to the field and you can just tell he's got the looks, he's got the stuff. Have played against Jake Hanley, who was Mason's, star. He was, Ohio Baseball Player of the Year last year. He's now at starting first baseman at Indiana, and he's already, I think, leading the team in home runs as a freshman, starting every game. And then, been lucky enough to coach a couple D1 guys from here. Probably the best athlete that we've had come through here, my time being the varsity coach, is Callum McGill, who's down at Morehead State right now. He just suffered a injury and had to get Tommy John surgery, but he was projected to be their number one starter as a sophomore. So he definitely still has a bright future ahead of him. He just got to get healthy and get back after it.
Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about the team and whatnot for 25.
Absolutely.
So overall, big picture, what's your coaching philosophy?
Yeah, so our coaching philosophy is that every day we're going to show up and control the things that we can control. We're going to work hard. We're going to have a good attitude, and we're going to do our best for what's on the team that day. Baseball is one of those weird sports where there's a lot of individual aspects that go on during a game, but they all add up. And if you don't have somebody doing their role or playing their part, it's going to be very hard for your team to be successful that day. Our big motto, and every time we break down, is for the team. Instead of 1, 2, 3 Tigers, we have one guy say for the, everybody else says team. Whether that be you starting shortstop and leading off the game, or you're the last reliever for the day and you're keeping the chart. Your job is just as important no matter where you are in that situation. So, and that goes for all three of our levels. I'm a huge proponent of making sure that our JV and varsity teams are practicing together every day, because I want our JV team to see the best every day and continue to get better and develop, so that by the time they're varsity players, they're hitting the ground running. There's no learning curve for them. On days where we have varsity only, we're sending our JV down to practice with our freshmen so that our freshmen are seeing the best that they could possibly see. So, continuing to develop, a lot of these times, we're bringing guys in and teaching them new positions, because, we don't have a middle school baseball program here. And the way baseball rules are in Ohio, you can only really play with 5 or 6 of your guys in your district or your school. So when you get to high school, it's a lot of these guys' first time being on the diamond together with one another. And it seems like every year we have 7 shortstops and 0 outfielders. So, kind of just readjusting guys' perspective on what the game is, and giving them other opportunities to maybe do something that they haven't done before, and not necessarily making that seem like a bad thing, but trying to spin it into a positive. My goal every day is, this is a game of failure. You're going to fail. There's guys who get paid millions of dollars to fail. There's guys who are in the Hall of Fame that are failures. It's the only sport where you're going to find that. Being able to learn from those failures, we're going to have days where you strike out 3 times. The last thing I want to see is you beating yourself up over it and walking back to the dugout with your head down, dragging the bat. Like, I want you to have that mentality that your next at bat's your best at bat. You're going to go up there, you're still in control, you're still in charge. And the same thing goes for our pitchers and our infielders. He's not dwelling on the negatives, focusing on what can we learn from that, being better, and always keeping that positive mindset towards everything that we do. Awesome.
So what about the 25 team goals?
Yeah, absolutely. So our goals every year are to win 20 games. We're in the state of Ohio, you're allowed to play 27 regular season contests. Our goal is to get to 20. Last year we got to 19, so we were right there on the door. But pretty much baseline is if you're winning 20 games, you're a well-respected team in the state. Aside from 20 games, it's to win the ECC, to continue to hold that crown, and continue to put numbers up on the banner that are in the gym. It's the most decorated banner, and as long as I'm here, I want to continue adding numbers each and every year that we're there. After that, we always want to host playoff games. We don't want to go on the road until we get to the districts. So we want to host playoff games up at Dave Evans Field. We want guys to come into our house, play in our environment with our raucous crowd. And then, goal for this year is to win a district title, right? We have gone one step further each season that I've been here. In the tournament, we've gone one step further each year that I've been here in the conference. Now we have our target on our backs. We no longer get to play that underdog mentality. So, just adjusting our focus this year, and realize that we're not going to be able to sneak up on people. People are going to give us their best shot every single game that we play. We're going to have 27 of the hardest games that we've ever had in our lives. And just realize that people want to take a shot at us.
Right.
And that's something that we've earned as a program, and it's something to be proud of, but realizing that it's not going to be just rolled out and given to us again. We got to go out there and work even harder than what we did last year if we want to be serious about our goals. So I really like where our guys have been, especially our varsity guys so far. With our returners, we got a lot of returning players to the team this year, which has added a lot of stability, and we've added some bright spots in both the sophomore and junior class. Guys been eyes wide open the first couple scrimmages, first couple practices. Maybe pressing a little bit too much at times. Juices get flowing, that adrenaline gets going, game starts moving a little bit quicker. But having those returners, impactful returners, be there and kind of just steady everything out and bring these guys back down to even level, not getting too high, not getting too low. And I just really like where our team's been at mentally so far, and I'm excited to get to that home opener here in 9 days.
9 days. That's great. It's not just you. Talk about some of your assistants.
Yeah. So, obviously I'm a Loveland guy myself. We talked about that earlier. I thought when I first started this job, I thought it was important to get people who'd been a part of the program, people who'd been a part of the success in the past, back in the fold. So the first person I reached out to was Griffin Williams. Believe it or not, Griffin Williams was the freshman coach when I was in high school here. So I have known him for a very, very long time. He garners a lot of respect out of the guys, both on the basketball court as a basketball coach and a baseball coach. So having him as kind of my right-hand man, my first base coach has been awesome. Reinstilling that culture, making these guys realize the importance of what we're doing out here. We also added another alumni, Jordan Hawk. Like I said, talked about him a little bit earlier, 2010 grad, played at Urbana. Having him back has given us more perspective. Again, just, somebody who can kind of back up things that Coach Williams and I have been talking about for so long, and realizing that, this isn't something that we're just creating on the fly. This is a tradition. This is how things have gone. This is how we're going to continue to do things. We're always going to honor those who came before, and pave the ways for those who will follow. So, lucky enough to add another alumni to the staff this year. He was a midwinter addition, but he just finished up at UT Martin, played 4 years of Division I college baseball there, and was a all-state player while he was here in high school, and that's Carson Deers, helping out with our catchers, has been huge. And then, adding a guy like our pitching coach, Roy Wimmers, he's, like I said, he's in his 70s. He's been around the game longer than I've been alive. Right. Has, really, really given our guys perspective in the game and in the way that it's going in this new age of technology and, metrics. And I need what my spin rate is. Well, when you got a guy like that who's been doing it for 40, 50 years with none of that information and none of that stuff and still getting results, it's been eye-opening. Some of our kids who are, kind of able to do that stuff on their own time in the off season and, realize, oh man, we can still kind of get better without all that stuff. Right. So that's been huge. I think, I'm a little bit biased, but I truly think we have the best staff in our conference, top to bottom. In terms of developing kids and not just at the varsity level. I know a lot of guys, and no discredit to them, where their freshman buildings might not be connected to their high schools, and, they're not really fully engaged, top to bottom, 9 through 12. So, I talk to my whole coaching staff, JV, freshman, on a daily basis, what happened, what's going on with this guy, who's throwing today, what position where guys are in, because, I care about the development down there. And our freshman coaches do a great job. We got Coach Steiny, Coach Rick, who've been doing it a long time, who are, just thrilled to be in Loveland, a place that has resources. These guys come from, coaching at Landmark, which was a glorified homeschooled team for a while, and they coached at Loveland before that, where there was no resources. So, them being able to have that perspective for our guys, and, you guys got it good here, man.
Yeah,
you don't realize how nice it is here. Like, we can get better, and that's been good for them. And then we added a new JV coach to our staff this year. He's Grant Baker. He came over from Milford. He was their freshman coach this past season. Okay. Joined us. He's now going to be our JV head coach. Just a young, hungry guy who's super passionate about the game. Him and I have been doing a lot of research into the training. And going to different conventions and things like that, and just trying to make sure that we're giving everything possible to our guys so that they can be the best baseball players that they can be at the end of the day. So, just top to bottom, we have a really, really good staff that, has the best interest for our kids and wants nothing more for them to develop into the best baseball players that they can be. And if that takes them off to college, that's awesome. If it takes them off to the pros, that's even better. But bottom line, when they leave here, they're better men than when we first got.
Cool. Great thoughts. So with all your experience, what advice would you give to the parents of a 5th grade, 6th grade boy on the whole travel baseball and where we are?
Yeah. I spent 2 seasons coaching travel ball, doing the whole going to Georgia, going to Grand Park in Indianapolis. My advice to 5th or 6th grade parents would, if your son is serious about baseball and you're serious about baseball, would be to get an unbiased evaluation of your son. And what I mean by unbiased is take him to somebody who has never seen your son perform before. Take them to somebody that you don't personally know, to get an honest feedback of where your child is at that current moment, and honest feedback of where your child may be 5 years down the road. Problem I have with travel ball right now, and where I see it heading, is that it's basically become a glorified money grab for big name organizations that, started off very regionalized and realized that they could make a lot more money by selling their name to the Midwest and the West and the Northeast. Yeah. And so, you come in with this name, come in with all these promises. It seems really nice on paper. At the end of the day, what matters the most is your development as a 5th and 6th grader, or 3rd and 4th grader, or whatever your age may be. There is nobody recruiting. There is nobody scouting 12, 13 U games. I don't care how good you are. You're a 12-year-old kid. The earliest people will start being recruited, and it is a very, very select few, is 8th grade heading into your freshman year. Right. Once you enter your freshman year, nobody can even speak to you until August 10th of your sophomore year. So, I feel like people just get in a rush to get into that travel ball, getting into, I got to be on XYZ's national team or XYZ's Midwest, black, gold, silver, elite, whatever the adjective is for the day of the week. Right. Is just don't feel like you need to be rushed or pressured into it because you see everybody else doing that. Yeah. Your son is going to grow. The kids around your son are going to grow. Things are not going to be the same as they are right now. There's so much different. I focus on, development, focus on the biggest thing that we teach every year is just baseball IQ. I feel like kids nowadays can throw faster, hit harder, run faster than ever before. But, a simple bunt coverage is very hard for people to understand, or, backing up a base, backing up throws to the pitcher from the catcher. Simple things that, I may have taken for granted as when I was playing, but it was just, that's what was hammered into me as I was a kid. Is just focus on those little things and just, watch baseball. I feel like not a lot of people in today's age are going out and watching the game because they spend so much time, Monday through Friday. I got to be at the batting cages this day, and then I got it that day. And the last thing that they want to do is sit down and watch the game. It's like everything I'm doing is this. But, just being able to sit and watch from a different perspective, take yourself out of the role of playing shortstop and put yourself in the role of bench coach in the dugout. What would you be telling the guy on deck? Like, what's the pitcher done his last 3 pitches? Like, what's his sequence been? Talking to that guy about on deck. Hey, this is what he's done his last 3 pitches. This is what he's starting guys off with. Just having a different perspective on the game, and you learn that from watching it. And that'd be my biggest advice. Is just don't rush into the travel ball because you want to have a name across your shirt. There's no shame, and some of our best players on our freshman team this year have come up through the LYBO organizations and played and are making an impact. We got guys that have gotten called up to JV from doing that as freshmen. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you're probably going to know the reality if you're willing to accept it as a parent. The reality of your child as a baseball player. I'd say probably that freshman, sophomore year, you're going to have an idea of, okay, my son has a chance to play baseball at the next level. My son has a chance to be a varsity baseball player, or, hey, my son's probably his peak is, he'll play JV, be lucky enough to be on varsity, maybe get some innings here or there. Right. But the biggest thing is just being realistic, getting in those unbiased opinions, because if you don't allow that to happen for yourself and your son, by the time that they do get to high school, when they do get that for the first time, it's going to be very hard to face for both parties, because it's the first time that they're hearing it and they've been told, well, I've been so good for so long. Right. Why all of a sudden am I not good? And it's just because that guy was just sitting there lining his pockets and being happy to tell you that you're as good as possible. So just don't be afraid to expose yourself to failure, like I talked about earlier. It's the biggest, one of the most important things you could do in terms of your growth and development as a player.
No, well said, Coach. Thanks for sharing. That's absolutely awesome. So let's talk about, closing up here, let's talk about your observations for this year's ECC.
Yeah, so always going to be a tough conference up at the top, where you're going to have elite level pitching. If you ask my opinion, and most of the coaches in the ECC, and even kind of some of the coaches in the other conferences, the ECC has been the conference to beat the last couple of years. We might not have the top end talent that Moeller has in the GCL or Mason has in the GCL or in the GMC, but top to bottom, our conference is elite, especially on the mound. Every team. Last year we were the only team that didn't have a guy that threw 90. This year we're lucky enough to have one guy who will be close to there, but still, there's teams like West Claremont that have 2 or 3. So Little Miami's got a couple guys that have really solid arms. So, each and every week, is going to be a dogfight. Playing 3 conference games a week it takes a lot out of you, and then sprinkling in non-conference, a tough non-conference schedule around that makes it tough. But, like we talked about earlier, our focus is to win the ECC. And that starts by, playing Anderson on that first Monday of conference play and getting the season off to a good start. Our Achilles heel and why we've not been the best the last couple of years in terms of, multiple ECC championships is just getting off to too slow of a start, not hitting the ground running, and kind of taking it for granted, looking at our schedule, you look at Anderson, you look at Little Miami, and you wouldn't immediately go, that's Milford, Kings, Turpin, Lebanon, like the big dogs of the conference. And I kind of think our mindset's been, well, we can kind of ease into the situation, and, we end up splitting with Anderson, splitting with Little Miami each of the last 3 years. And then you look back at the end of this 2022 season and you're in 3rd place out of first by 2 games. And then into 23 season, you look at and you're out of first by 1 game. And, you look at the 24 season when we did win it, and, we're playing up to the very last series when it shouldn't have come down to that. So, just realizing that every single team in this conference is really solid, top to bottom, can hit, pitch, field, and I think that goes to prove itself when you look at teams who are still playing in the sectional and district finals when it comes to it. Going to be a little bit different this year with the division changes. Yep. Where, the GMC is all Division I. GCL is all Division I except for LaSalle, who's a D3. And then you have the ECC, where you have, Milford, West Claremont, Lebanon. Those bigger schools are D1. Then you got us, Anderson and Kings, who are going to be D2. And then you got Turpin, who's going to be D3.
Are they really?
So,
okay.
That's going to be interesting to see how it plays out when it comes tournament time. But I know all those other coaches very well, and I know that we really, really, really care about the ECC title more than a lot of other things.
It's a great conference.
Yeah.
I mean, too many people we're GMC and the GCL schools, and then you look at even in other sports how competitive the ECC is.
I would. I don't know our record off the top of my head against GMC and GCL schools, but I know it's a winning record, and I could say that top half of the ECC is also in that same boat, where it's we might not have Mason's number. They might have a little bit more depth than us, but and I think I'm 4-1 against West, 2-1 against East. Some of the bigger dogs over there, and we've gone over there and hung with them, no problem at all. So
well, I'm so excited for all the sports that are being impacted by the new OSHA rules that you mentioned. I mean, it like basketball, Coach Reese had a special season this year, winning districts, and it's like usually we would win one or win two, and then you'd face a big dog in Mason or Moeller, and then you had no chance. Girls sports, same way, with soccer and softball and basketball. It's all for the better to help these kids keep going to the next level, whatever it may be. So, man, it's been a great conversation. Anything else you want to add?
No, it's been awesome. Like you said, I really appreciate all the time and effort that you put into this. We're looking forward to a great season. Looking forward to seeing everybody up at the Dave, enjoying some hot dogs, enjoying some burgers, some sunshine, and hopefully a lot of Loveland Tiger wins.
Awesome. Well, best of luck this season, Coach. It's great that you joined us and what you do for our boys and the community, and best of luck this year in competing in the ECC.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate it.
You bet it, Coach. Thanks. This episode is sponsored by Cappy's Wine and Spirits in downtown Loveland. Tap room, bottle shop, meeting place, great music, gift ideas, and just a traditional watering hole. Spring has sprung in the land of love, so make sure to visit on these great afternoons and evenings. I hope you enjoyed this podcast with Coach Terry. We're always looking for other ideas and to share great sports stories, so please send any ideas to lovelandallsports@gmail.com. Peace.